What's up, you guys? It's Reyna. Welcome back to my channel. Today, as you can tell by the title, I am going to be ranking every single Vampire Academy and Bloodlines book and story, aka Vampire Academies, I think is like the joint name for like the whole series because they're literally back to back. If I ever say Vampire Academy, just know I always refer to like VA and Bloodlines because they're the same world universe. I always consider Bloodlines. I know some people do not, but I do. So really quick, if you're watching on YouTube, hey, but if you're listening via podcast, hey guys. Basically, if you don't know, I have a Vampire Academy podcast. I never talk about it because I feel like it's so niche, like if you know, you know. But I'll have it linked down below if you're on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, I will have the link to this YouTube video in the description, just because I thought it might be fun to try and like do a YouTube video / podcast and like have the audio be a podcast episode, and then like if you want to watch the video you can, or if you only subscribe on YouTube. Anyways, let's get into it. Okay, here we go, guys. I'm so excited to do this. Okay, so I made my own tier list. I will link it down below if I can. I'm pretty sure I should be able to. If you guys want to like play around with it, let me know your rankings. So really quick to explain the tiers, we have Rose obviously as God tier, self-explanatory. Next we have Dimitri, which is like really good but like not Rose. For my mid tier, I picked Lissa. Before anyone comes for me, just know Lissa is literally my second favorite character. I love her so much. I just know that a lot of people don't. She's not Rose, basically. Like I don't know the best way to say this, but she's gonna like be the mid tier. Not that Lissa is mid, not that. Anyways, okay. For my bad tier, we have Victor, and then for absolute flop of the century, we have Declan. If you know, you know. Basically, if you have not read Bloodlines and only read VA, Declan is a Bloodlines character for one book at the very end. But anyways, I'm gonna try not to like spoil, just because there might be people watching this who have never read any of the books, and I want you to read the books and like watch the show when it comes out in September. But any slays, let's start. So they're like all out of order, but I'm gonna try to go in order, like VA books, Bloodlines, and then like extra stories and like the graphic novels. But let's get into it. So to start, we have Vampire Academy. Honestly, I've read VA so many times in the past year, having a podcast and like having to constantly write about it over and over so many times that I'm like kind of tired of it at this point. But she's still the starter. She's still VA. Let me think about this for a second. She's a good story. She's just like not as crazy and intense as the rest, and I feel like the vibes are not as bad, dark as like the rest. I think I'm gonna put VA in. I'm like torn between Dimitri and Lissa. How do I do this? Okay. I think next we have Frostbite. Frostbite, story-wise, is so crazy, but I also love it. Actually, you know what? VA is going to Dimitri. Frostbite, Lissa. Now, for a second, I thought, you know what? Frostbite, it's Adrian's first book. Dimitri tier. But honestly, no. It's way shorter than all the other books. The story is crazy out of pocket, but if you know what happens at the end, I do not stan that storyline, and I know it's like essential. Next we have Shadowkiss. Shadowkiss is so good. Like, I feel like a lot of people, if you ask them their favorite VA book, it's gonna be Shadowkiss. For literally years, it was my top #1 favorite. When I reread it last year, it changed, but Shadowkiss is just such a good story. It's so fun. Like, I love Eddie, I love Christian, I love Rose and Christian bestie duo. So Shadowkiss is going Dimitri. I thought about putting it in Rose tier, but I don't, like, it's like very close, but it did not make the cut. Okay, next we have Blood Promise. I know a lot of people, like, this was a shock for me. A lot of people love this book, and it's like one of their #1 or like top favorites, and it is really good. That is like a given. It's like you meet Dimitri's family and a bunch of crazy stuff happens, but it's never been one of my faves. Honestly, I think like my favorite part of this book is like the period at the end with Avery, Rose, and Lissa, and because of that I think I'm gonna have to put it in Victor tier. I'm sorry, I feel bad. Okay, next we have Spirit Bound. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I do love Spirit Bound. However, the feelings that Spirit Bound gives me after like the key defining like big thing that happens in Spirit Bound, it's going in Declan. Like, I'm sorry, it literally makes me so mad to read that plot. Like, Lissa, towards the end of this book, I did not like it. Not to mention the way it ends, like, that is so crazy. Lastly, we have Last Sacrifice. Now, Last Sacrifice is probably my favorite Vampire Academy book at this point. I just love it so much. Like, it's amazing. Like, it has to go into Rose tier. Like, not only do we get more bestie moments with like Rose and Lissa, Rose, Lissa, and Eddie. Eddie has more parts. I love Eddie. If you don't know, Eddie's one of my top favorite characters as well. Obviously, like the whole plot with Jill, with Rose, Dimitri, like it's just so much going on. But and Lissa's plot in this book, don't even get me started. This is why Liz is one of my favorite characters, is because of her in Last Sacrifice. Like, I just love to see it. Like, the trials, so good, so good. In the end, Lissa's speech, I was in tears. I'm in tears every single time. Like, it's so good, and it's such a good way to like wrap the series. Like, so many people don't continue on, which I get, but like if you didn't, it just like makes sense. We're gonna start Bloodlines. If you know me, I believe I've talked about this on the podcast, I think Vampire Academy is the better book series. Like, it's just better overall. But I do prefer Bloodlines a teensy bit more, just because obviously my #1 favorite character is Adrian. Adrian is like one of the main 2 characters of this book. Also Eddie, one of my top faves in this book. So Bloodlines is good. It's good. I'm gonna put it in Lissa tier, just because it's like a little, I don't want to say boring, but I really like it and like enjoy reading it. But I know some people like start Bloodlines and then they like get stuck and don't want to read it because of the first book, and like I see why. So I'm gonna put it in Lissa tier. Okay, next we have The Golden Lily. The Golden Lily also is going to be in Lissa tier. It gives, like it does, like Adrian and The Golden Lily, so good. I want to say this is the book. 2 characters from VA are in this book like the whole time, and Adrian, I believe this is when he buys his car and Sydney finds out about the aura thing, which is so good, but it's not as good as like the next book. So now with the Indigo spell, got tier, like immediate Rose tier. Agree to disagree. I think the Indigo spell is one of the best Bloodlines books. It might be the best. Like, thinking about it, I'd have to like do a more in-depth analysis, but I'm not going to. The Indigo spell is just so good. We have the plot with Sydney and Jackie. Then we have Adrian, who's like kind of intertwined with it all, but then like they're like yes but no, but it's just so good. And then Marcus and like the Alchemist, it's just so crazy and out of pocket, but so fun, and like so many good, like they go to a frat house. It's like so good. I cannot even put into words. So God tier. The Indigo spell is my favorite book, and when they're on the plane, stop, I love that part. Okay, so next we have The Fiery Heart. Fiery Heart is going into Victor tier, and you might think that this is a spoiler because Sydney and Adrian are like finally together at this point. I would want to put this in like a higher tier because I live for Sidrian, but no, like I'm sorry, what's her name? Zoe? Neil? No, like I literally can't. And I'm not gonna lie, there are some moments that I'm like, however, that like as a whole, like when I think about it, I'm just like mad. So it's going to Victor, almost to Declan, but we'll get there. Silver Shadows. Okay, Silver Shadows. Okay, immediate roast here. Now, I know some people are gonna be like, that's literally, it sucks so bad. Like, Sydney is literally, spoiler alert, in re-education. Like, this is not a good time. And, like, if I could split the book up into, like, the first half and then, like, the last half, I would. And I would put the last half in, like, Declan. And, like, the first half, or the last half in Rose tier. Because that's how, like, like, that's how much it spans. The first half of the book is literal Declan tier, but the rest puts it in Rose tier. Like, one of my favorite things to read in like this entire series is the like last half of Silver Shadows. Like, oh my god, I'm not even gonna say it, but if you know, you know. Like, it's so good. This is like the best Sidrian content in like the entire, like, no fanfiction could top what ends up happening here. Next, for the Ruby Circle, obvious Declan tier. This is Declan's book. I have a lot of thoughts about the Ruby Circle, and I don't want to say it's like a bad book because I do have fun reading it. Like, I love Eddie, I love Jill, Adrian, Sydney's a cat. Like, it's fun. Oh, it's just so out of pocket, and not even like in a fun way. It's just like some things you read in this book, you're like, jaw to the floor. For what? What is going on? What was the reason for like this particular thing? And it's just, it's crazy, and it's like, it's a lot. So Declan equals Renesmee. That's all you need to know. Okay, so now that we've finished the official series, I'm gonna start doing, actually I'm gonna do the graphic novels first. So VA, Frostbite, Shadowkiss. Now, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I've only ever read the first one because the other two are so expensive and like very hard to find. And when I was in my first VA era in like 2014, I was like too young, nor did I have a job to buy the graphic novels. But the pictures I've seen from them, and obviously like the stories they're telling, it's just so good and fun. Obvious Rose and Dimitri tears. So now I'm gonna do Adrian's Diary. Adrian's Diary, immediate Declan tier. That is Adrian's Diary is like crime to my eyes, and it's just so bad, and I literally cannot stand to read them. And I feel like it's kind of on point with his character, but it's just so bad, and it's like I literally cannot stand him. And I understand why everyone hates him because I've already talked about this on the podcast, but like, be Adrian, be awesome. Like, Declan tier. Oh my god, I cannot stand that man. Also, I can't see Adrian like writing a diary, but at the same time he's a Leo, so I feel like, you know what, same. Like, I love to talk about myself. Adrian's Lost Chapter. If you didn't know, Bloodlines was supposed to be multi-point of view between, I want to say, Sydney, Adrian, Jill, and Eddie. And the first chapter was originally written in Adrian's point of view, but then she like scrapped the idea and only did Sydney's POV for the first three books. I'm gonna put Adrian's Lost Chapter in Victor tier just because it cuts off when it gets good. Like, if you know, like, show me more. Like, I want everything. And to be fair, if she had continued in this way, like, I'm sure we would get that, but it would have been so much crazier to, like, I don't know. It's just like, you have to like know what happens to be like, oh, whoa, that's like the moment. But I mean, it's fun. We find out his birthday is what, August 3rd? August, Leo. Love to see it. I love to see it. Next, we're gonna do, oh, Oh my god, it's not on the tier list. Okay, I'm gonna try to like fix that. But I was gonna do Lissa's diary, but it's not here, and that is so crazy. So we're gonna pretend Lissa's diary is gonna go in Dimitri tier. We get so much insight about like Lissa and Rose when they were like on the run before they got dragged back to the academy, and I love it. I think it's really fun for like fans to have that and to like see, because it is Lissa and Rose, like their personalities, like we get to see more. Rose puts ketchup on her tacos, like it's just crazy. Like I love it. I love Lissa's diaries. I can't believe I forgot Lissa's diary. Okay, to continue with Lissa, I used a picture of Daniela Nieves, who is going to be playing Lissa in the TV show, to make like Lissa's diary, because obviously they don't have like their own book covers. But I also used it to make one for Sunshine, which is a story about her parents. So where am I gonna put this? Honestly, Victor tier. Now, it is a fun story to read, because it's like all these royals, I'm trying to like justify it, but honestly, this may be a spoiler alert, but we honestly just get to see like the Dragomires and their pattern of cheating on their partners. Anyways, so next, I think with Lissa, I'm just gonna hop over to Christian, the Oziras, the Turn in the Flame. Honestly, I'm gonna put it in Lissa tier, because like, is it really good and like insightful? Yes. Do I also hate Tasha? Yes. So did I really want to read about Tasha? Not really. But did I? Yes. Was it a good story and like wasn't it crazy and like I kind of like have a better understanding? Yes. But it's not, I didn't want it. And like, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm like glad we got it, but like if I had to choose and be like, oh my gosh, who do I want a story on? I would not pick Tasha, to be honest. So when I think about this, I'm thinking Moira, I'm thinking Christian. So next we have Homecoming. This is gonna go in Dimitri tier. I do love this. I do think it's really fun, but I personally don't love it enough to put it in Rose tier. But it is really cute. It's so slay. We're back in Russia, wherever Dimitri's from. I guess it's a spoiler alert. But yeah, Dimitri getting to see his family. Love to see it. Love to see it. Lastly, I hope I'm not forgetting any stories. I am. Okay, so another story that is not here, that did not get added to this file when I put them on the tier list, was Dimitri's chapter. Or like the first chapter from Dimitri's point of view. That would also go in Lissa tier, just because, if you know, someone did write every Vampire Academy book from Dimitri's point of view. I had already read the first couple, like back when they like were first coming out or being written, and then obviously in the 10th anniversary edition in 2017, somewhere around there, when the 10th anniversary edition came out, one of the stories included was the first chapter of Vampire Academy written from Dimitri's point of view by Rochelle herself. And it's very Dimitri. It's interesting to see like Dimitri's mindset in those moments, given what becomes of him and Rose. But anyways, the last story I actually have not read, and you might be thinking, why do you even have a Vampire Academy podcast if you haven't read every single extra piece of like literature out about the books and in the universe? And that is because I started it, but I wasn't in like a space where I was like ready to like have fun and like read about the faves. So I want to read it and like be able to like sit and enjoy it, if that makes sense. However, immediately, like Rose and Mason, I'm pretty sure it's Mason, oh my god, but I'm gonna put it in Dimitri. I am putting Hello My Name is Rose Hathaway in Dimitri tier, because I love the novices. I love their shenanigans while they're still in school, and obvious Dimitri tier. Okay, so that is it for the video and the episode. I will maybe post a picture of this on the Instagram for the podcast page so you can like see better. To to be honest, my rankings change every time I read the book, so this is just like my current thoughts looking back. But every time I read a book and I like relive those favorite parts and moments, I'm like, oh my god, rose tier, like immediate, no question about it. But I'm happy with the list of where it's at right now. I'm really sad that I forgot the graphics for Dimitri's chapter and then Lissa's diary, but it's fine. I will go add them to the list later. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Also subscribe to my podcast if you're interested. If you haven't already, you should read Vampire Academy, and if you're not interested in reading it, why? Secondly, you better watch the show.